Well, obviously I found a lump. I had breast cancer, and I went to the doctor, and they decided, well, it might be an abscess, so we'll go and maybe try to lance it and see if they could do that. Well, I ended up at the hospital here, and they didn't lance it. They did a biopsy. So when I was finished with that procedure, I was like, still feel a lump. Guess you didn't lance that. No, we didn't. And my doctor gave me Dr. Constantine's number and said that if you don't hear from them today, you should call them tomorrow. Well, we got home, and within an hour, his office called me, and I was back over here at 11 o'clock that same morning. And I'm like, okay, we're working fast on this. And I met with Dr. Constantine, and he palpitated and checked it out, and he said, well, without the pathology report, my gut says it is cancer. And I'm like, okay. And I was, dealing with it as best one can do. And we got out of the doctor's office, went home, had a good cry, tried to figure out, the next step. And he called that night, said it actually was cancer. Wanted to know if I could start chemo Thursday. That was on a Tuesday. I'm like, sure, we can start chemo on Thursday. It happened during February vacation week. Perfect. Since I'm a teacher, we can fit this right in. So on Wednesday, he called me and said that he had brought the whole case to the tumor board in at Dana-Farber in Boston, because he's a member of that, or a part of that team, and they concurred with him that they thought that chemo would be the first thing, then surgery, and then radiation, which was the procedure we went through. So it all happened during February vacation week. My children were 8th grade and 10th grade, and my daughter went back to school. When they talked about vacation, the teachers, of course, asked, how was your vacation? It was the worst vacation of my life. So, but she came through it, and everybody came through it. But it was definitely a really hard situation. I was 40 when I found this out, and it was just hard. It's definitely a hard thing to deal with. Anybody I know that has cancer, I'm like, go see Dr. Constantine. He'll take care of you. He's very, positive. My husband went with me to all the appointments and all that sort of stuff, but it was like a conversation between all three of us. And my very first time meeting him, I remember, my husband and I are sitting in chairs like this, and the examining table was in front of me, and I remember him sitting on the foot part of the examining table to tell me that he thought it probably was cancer. So I mean, just talking to me, it was like getting down to my level and not being like sometimes you feel like doctors can kind of pull the power thing on you, but he made me feel very comfortable, and he was always positive, and he would tell me that I was amazing, and I was like, great, I want to keep hearing that, because every time I went, the chemo was shrinking my tumor. I went from a 7-centimeter tumor down to 1.2 centimeters. So that was like a small clementine down to, a small marble. I started chemo, and that was every 3 weeks, and I came from Hopkinton to Milford for that, and I was quite pleased that I could do that. Living in Hopkinton, it was like a 12-minute commute because I live on the Milford side of Hopkinton. And then after that, chemo went from February to July. My surgery was in August, and I had to go into Boston for that, and that was like in and out. And by the time you finish with chemo, you're not feeling like your sparkly self, So it was kind of a long trek in, and that was before we had the fast lane. We wish we had gotten fast lane before we started this whole thing. And then, so that was in and out a few times into Boston for that, and then radiation was in Framingham, and radiation is every day. And it was every day, like from the middle of September to November 8th. And every day my husband would come home from work and take me to Framingham, and we get home, and radiation's kind of a tiring experience. So it would have been really, really nice if I could have traveled to Milford instead of Framingham for that. Not that it's a long haul, but the more tired you get and you're trying to use your energy to heal, spending it in the car isn't really necessarily what would probably be the best thing for getting better. They're just as wonderful as the oncologist. My oncology nurse was a Donica, and she, was my nurse every single time, and she just made me feel comfortable. And when I was chilly, I'd get the hot blankie, and if I needed a drink or something, because you're pretty much trapped and strapped in when you're not strapped in literally, but you're hooked up to an IV, and just keeping an eye on me to make sure I was okay, and checking on me, and it was good. It was very good. I thought wonderful. I thought, You know, I had to go travel to get some of my care, but I thought to myself, wow, when people are getting cancer now, they don't have to, I mean, people in this area don't have to haul all the way to Worcester or Boston or Framingham to get help, and the care they're going to get is going to be fabulous. So I feel really positive and great, and I think it's a good thing. Massachusetts, I think, already has a great reputation for hospitals and doctors and that sort of thing, but I think it's going to broaden it, and it's not going to be, you don't have to go to Boston, you don't have to go, you know, to the big city, as my father would call it, to get good health care. You can do it, you know, locally in Milford. You're not going to have to, you know, schlep a long, long way to get good care. And I think people will feel better, and you'll get better faster, and all that power isn't going to be wasted on the road. The care that I received in Milford was fabulous, and I can only imagine it will get better when they partner with Dana-Farber, Brigham and Women's, and I think it's a smart thing to do. You know, if you want to get better, you want to do the smart thing, and I would say, come here, and you'll get better. I'm doing fabulous. I'm doing absolutely fabulous. I'm coming up on my 5-year wellness anniversary, which is obviously the big magic number in cancer world. And I feel great. Everybody tells me I look great. And I still go see Dr. Constantine every 6 months, which it's kind of fun, you know, because I get to see him, and while I'm well, I bring him his little cookie bag, and, you know, everybody's happy.